That's your new life insurance? You're filling out your new life insurance policy?
That's it.
Yeah.
And just remember, if you want to speak, please hold the microphone closely and don't speak without a microphone. Then we bring it up.
I think that's 12:25 or 12:70.
Is it your writing?
My notes, I
It
know.
looks like 12:25, but it probably is. Gotta go over here now. We gotta go over there now. We didn't have a chance to look at it.
Learn to draw a line through my sevens.
I think you're right. I think it was, no, I think that's his Don. I think. He said we didn't go by that house.
You was the last time you were at the meeting.
As it turned out, it was.
You've been doing.
Wasn't really necessary.
Taking care of your
It wasn't
mom.
necessary. It could have been handled.
Christina.
I do.
I heard that keeps you busy.
Did we get?
Okay, I'm gonna check for my-
Oh. I know. No,
Yeah.
I must
Yeah,
have.
on that.
Well, because I checked it before I even left my house.
Okay.
My back's up.
We've done several
Yeah.
areas. and you
Well,
also-
no, I said that we didn't go by it. I said we had.
Yes,
And
we
I-
had.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
I found it.
I did, I've got it.
I know I
Yeah.
checked. it.
And not only did we.
As soon as something
go
was
by,
threatening
we
to
also
take,
met
it's
and said
fine.
everything was safe, and we said, yes, everything is fine. I made a couple of corrections to it, and we said, you concur.
They still want to with Nancy.
Uh-huh. Well, she's
not
been
the original
gone.
one,
She
how's
just.
No, it was.
Oh, really?
I suppose. Let's get.
We'll get.
Where did
Okay,
she
I
go
just wanted to
this
let you know
time?
that-
Where'd she go? I think I have four minutes. No, she actually went on a great trip to.
Is everybody here? It looks like. Are we ready to start this lovely meeting? Got your attention, didn't I? Yes. Well, two people are not here. That's Solveig and Jolene. They're on vacation. So it's a nice small group here. We only seem to have how many people on Zoom? Anyone so far? Okay, so do we need the mic?
That's because it is being recorded.
Oh, okay. All right, so I've done the roll call. Everybody here except for Jolene and Solveig. Oh, you're absolutely right. Lisa Tafoya.
I saw her the other day. Not
Gosh.
Today.
Make a mark.
Didn't think she was.
It's 3:05. Jolene is absent, yeah, and she's on vacation, so is Solveig. Lisa Tafoya is not here. If she does show up, she can drag that chair over there, so we're good. Lisa Tafoya, okay. So let's start on, let's see. Yeah, but I'm just for doing my roll call here, so Lisa Tafoya, okay. So the first item on the agenda, if we can bring that up, are the minutes for September the 15th. Does anybody want to move to approve these minutes? Rick and,
You just said September instead of August.
beg your pardon?
Oh,
We're October.
sorry.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I printed the wrong ones.
Okay, so yes. And a second by, okay, Diane. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so next item on the agenda is chair update. Okay, so as all of you know, the board did not, well, they deferred the proposals we put in front of them at the October meeting. And these were proposals for zones 1, 2, 4, and 6. I did try and get at the meeting, was trying. Excuse me. Okay, we good? Yeah. at the meeting, the board did not really discuss the reasons for not approving or deferring the proposals. And I spoke to Cheryl afterwards and saying I was a little confused because, and as all of us were, because the proposals were put forward, but they didn't quite have a discussion, and we were not able to understand what the reason was for deferring the proposals. So it was brought to my attention that by Cheryl, that the board did not actually have time to review the proposals at their October meeting. So they have now agreed to bring the proposals back to the meeting to discuss that at their November 2nd meeting. So the proposals that were deferred to an unknown later date will now be back on the board agenda for proposals 1, 2, 4, and 6.
How did the discussion on finances mesh with those?
I can't refer to that because that is, I'm just giving you the information that I was given as far as the board is concerned for our proposals. So they are discussing it again at open session on the 2nd.
Can Cheryl speak to that?
She will, but not at this point in time. I'll pass it on to her. So, and the other question that was also raised, and this is something that you don't know as yet, Cheryl, because it just came in. At the meeting, I know John Baker was questioning the juniper trees that, do you remember on our zone walk, zone 1, that we were looking at and said we recommended the removal of the trees. The board at the time did not feel that that we should be removing them because they provided shade to the pickleballers, etc. So I got Paul Dubois to actually go and inspect the tennis courts and the trees and to give us a report. And he did give the report back and pretty much saying, I actually printed the wrong page. Do you have that up there? Yeah. And yeah, it's just, and it's very clear from his report, which we just got in, saying that, yeah. So in other words, he reviewed the trees planted along the fence of the tennis courts. The trees are planted within inches of the fence line around the court, and over the years have grown in, through and around the fencing. Due to the proximity of the trees to the court, the root flare of the trees has started to alter the surface court, even causing cracks in the court. Maintenance of these trees is difficult because of how the trees have grown into the fencing, that pruning them away from court to create space is not possible. Due to the current condition, there are no mitigation options possible to correct these defects. I recommend removal of the trees and replacing them with new plants, installing them further away from the court to prevent this issue from reoccurring while maintaining the privacy. So that will be given to the board. And as you know, Cheryl, the area where these trees are planted is so narrow that we decided to actually put Berry Creek rock and cut the irrigation so that no irrigation actually goes onto the tennis courts, which therefore damages the courts. Okay, so that is something that you can explain to the board. Okay, yeah, okay. So the other point that I'd like to make before I pass it on to Cheryl is the zone walks. Since we've now finalized the subdivisions in the zones, Betsy is going to put together a schedule for the new subdivisions and therefore new zone walk schedule, right?
Yeah, I just haven't had it.
No, it's going to be quite a effort to do that. I mean, it's going to take quite a while to get that done. So in the meantime, since we've got so many proposals which are coming to the board, we're wondering, and while the new schedule is being created, that perhaps we want to stop our zone walks for now until we get the new schedule in, which doesn't mean that zone stewards can't go and look at the areas, but if they want to. But right now, until this new schedule comes into place, maybe not do the zone walks till perhaps December or even January. So that's again something that I'd like you all to weigh in on and see how you feel about it. So, yeah.
Are we not getting work orders anymore?
There haven't been any. There haven't been any so far, yeah, because we've got so many proposals now going to be discussed by the board. Then we've got 2 more proposals today that we have to discuss. So perhaps, and then which doesn't mean that homeowners, if homeowners have issues, they can still complete the service request form. And so we will still be reviewing those. And in the meantime, if any zone stewards have problems, see any problems in their particular zones, they can still notify the office or me or Cheryl. But again, this is up to you guys. If you feel that you want to continue with the schedule that we have now and still go around and do this, it's entirely up to you. But we're thinking of just waiting until, a lot of proposals are done. So any thoughts on that?
I like the idea of just waiting a couple of months. We haven't seen anything. If there's something that looks like an emergency or an urgency, I think in that event, we'll have to address it, but
Yeah,
otherwise,
any irrigation issues always be urgent, and it still means that homeowners can still come in, complete their forms, the service request forms, and we can still review them. So again.
Okay, am I to understand that if we temporarily suspend the zone walks, whatever work orders will be issued will come to the appropriate zone steward?
Yes, correct. So in other words, if homeowners say put in a service request, as they have done, it would be best if it's something which is urgent or which the zone steward should be aware of. Yes, I think the zone steward should be aware of what is happening in their particular zone. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, but for emergency, which are typically irrigation concerns.
Yeah, then obviously if it's flooding, we would go ahead and do that, get that work done. But it's more for letting each zone steward know in their particular area what's happening, that you should know. So in other words, what I would like to do would be to scan in the service request, send it on to the zone steward, and at the same time, I would look at it. So with Cheryl, Betsy, and then with the zone steward. So we would kind of do the same thing, but perhaps not doing formal large proposals for right now until we kind of know where the board is going with the proposals that they're going to be reviewing on the 2nd, and perhaps these 2 as well. So
there haven't even been any like small work orders go through at all? Really? Oh, okay.
no, nothing has happened yet. So just for irrigation, there's been emergency flooding, etc. Then yes, but otherwise no. Okay. So yes. Just close to you, the mic. Don't push the button.
Just put it close to your mouth.
Just put it close to your mouth. That's
Can you
because
pass the next group? Don't press that button.
what?
Dr. Strangelove. If we are in receipt of a homeowner request that borders on flooding, or potential flooding, how do we expedite that or get it into the system, given the potential for a suspension of our walks until we have a revised walk schedule? And how do we get the zone stewards involved
Well,
along
okay.
with Carson to get a work proposal?
Well, my response, Betsy, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, would be to send an email directly to Betsy, copy me, copy Cheryl. And so if you don't know who the zone steward is, that's fine, but just send that in. if Betsy is off that day, but she always does check her emails. In any case, I do. And we will certainly get that corrected. And is there something you want to add to that, Betsy?
She hates sharing germs with me. No, I'll just hold it way down here, Christina. No, you can certainly email it over to me, or, if it needs like an urgent work order, send it to me. If it's something more for grounds committee action, then send it to your chair.
And also to Betsy and of course Nirmal too. So I think just in case for copy, I mean, as many people you can copy is better. But yeah,
The question is, if we're facing a several month suspension of our normal, regular activity that allows a request and a work order proposal to enter the system, how do we keep doing business in a way that allows those requests to move through in a normal fashion?
well, I would see it as if there's a particular area that needs some work done. Let's say you've got some plants that are dying and they need to be corrected, etc. And you've had this particular address, say outside, I'll let you 328 Elmhurst needs some plants put outside their house. You would just send in a note. You would send it into Betsy to the office. You would send me a copy and Cheryl. And then we would look at the area and create a work order if necessary. Am I answering that question? Your eyes are going up to heaven
Oh,
there.
no, I'm just trying to understand if we're suspending or potentially suspending the zone walks, how does that occur? I'm sorry, if I'm too dense, and I apologize for that. I'm trying.
Okay, so no, I know. So they're basically like two tracks, right? There's zone walks, there's homeowner requests. Ideally, we would take the homeowner requests with us on our zone walks so that we could all look at them together, right? And then we can have direct input with one another. At the moment, we haven't been doing the zone walks for the last month, and there is a little bit of a backlog of homeowner requests. So Christina and I spoke earlier this week and thought, hey, maybe Cheryl and Christina and I could go around to these homeowner requests, take a look at them, kind of have an initial response, and then hook in the zone stewards. Is that what you remember? Were you
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And in accordance with the process for homeowner landscaping requests, that is correct,
hang on.
because it does. I know that's our next discussion, but that is how it should work, is that the three of us will confer first.
Anything from you, Diane? I mean-
Our rotation is a 7-week rotation, so that we're not talking about, you're not going to get your zone looked at for 3 or 4 months.
That's
It's-
right.
it's
Exactly. Yeah.
Minimal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Excuse me, I feel that also the zone steward should be involved, because if they live in the area, we ought to be kept up to speed on what's going on. So like
Well,
I'm in
that's-
zone 5,
That's what
you
we
know.
just said. We just said that.
the three
We
of you.
just, yeah, initially, and then there's initial, and then the zone stewards will be involved of the respective zone. So you will be involved in the respective
Why do
zone.
we need, why do we need all three ladies? Or
Well,
all three
because
people?
we will discuss that in the homeowner request, updated landscape request approval process that I have to follow, because that was approved by the board. And that's what we're going to be reviewing later on in the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anyone who really feels that they have to do a zone walk? No.
It would just be nice to be informed at the same time as you're going out, even if we don't walk with you, to at least be copied
Correct.
on whatever's happening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what we really mean by looking at the zone. Okay, what I really mean by looking at the landscape request forms is to actually just collate them into the different zones. And then when it's time to go and take a look at them, we would go with the zone steward. That's kind of really what we're looking at. But it's a question now of just collating them. So, I mean, right now we've got a few in 2 or 3 in 2 in zone 3 and then 4, but I'm still going through them. It was quite a number, and there's quite a number in zone 6, etc. But I'm just putting them together. Nothing in zone 2 so far, or 1. So that, and then once we've got a few of them, rather than just going out every time, so just get a few of them and then we can discuss it. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I don't understand why, if you guys, ladies are gonna go out and look at it first and then get the zone stewards involved and then come back, why not just do it one time? It's a waste of time. We're volunteer people to go out there twice.
Yeah,
I
but you
think.
know, this is a small place. Sometimes we walk by the place and we just on our ways to another spot. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, that's fine. We can do it, whichever.
Sometimes the requests are really more about understanding the maintenance process. And so it's not even a request to have something. It'll be a request for pruning when the pruning is on the rotation. So it's just a sort of a triage to go through them and ensure that, you know, these are actionable requests. And if so, then get them to the people who are in the zones.
Because every time we get a landscape request, I really don't want to just go and send this to the zone steward and talk about it. I'm trying to collate them. So that trying to get them and then also see, kind of like Betsy says, some of them are just for pruning and okay, that's coming next week or something like that. So you don't really need to go out for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
So basically what you're saying is you're going to be working on emergencies and pruning issues, maintenance issues that are necessarily planting. Did I understand that correctly, or is that?
No, you did not.
That's okay.
Do you want to respond to that?
Well, okay, for example, this request, it's actually been here since July from 1000 Dunbarton. Since that time, as you know, the board's been kind of working around on this process for homeowner requests. But what she's asking for is she has a concern about drainage, that there's negative drainage, that the roots have lifted up the ground and the water is funneling towards her house. She says, no bushes, no plants, doesn't look nice there. So from just reading this, we don't know. There may be a need for plants and it'll have to be looked at, but that's the kind of thing that would be addressed. It might include planting. It might include digging a drain. It might include removing the plants, the roots that are pushing up the dirt. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what it's all about.
But
So
we do have these requests that have been kind of backlogged, and I'd like to move forward at
Yes.
least on implementing a plan or coming up with a plan and then asking the board to act.
and that
So basically what you're saying is then irrigation maintenance that could include planting.
anything is possible. Yes,
Okay, so
absolutely.
there's not really a suspension on planting part, just the zone walks.
Just the zone walks. Yes. Okay. Any other questions before I pass it on to Cheryl? All happy? Cheryl.
I really have no particular board announcements for anyone at this point. We have several items on the agenda that relate to things that have happened at the board. And I think if you have questions, ask me then and we'll cover them from there.
How about going back to the question of the delays that were implemented by the board, and the discussion at that same time in the board meeting was with regard to finances. Can you now perhaps put some more meat around those bones on the impact of the financing discussion on the reason for delay?
The reason for the delay is that the board needed more information. We discussed these things, and if we need more information, that's for the reason for the deferral. We weren't really talking about money or anything else directly to those proposals.
So the financing had nothing to do with the delays.
I cannot speak for every board member. Our vote was we're going to defer. And what the comments were basically, I need more information.
Thank you.
So I don't know what happened.
Yeah, because if you push it, cannot push the button.
So Cheryl, the only comment I have about that is at the board meeting, I think we were all taken aback by the way that happened. There was no explanation whatsoever. There was no preamble. There was no conclusion. I mean, it was just like probably in 90 seconds, the board said, we're not doing any of these work orders. And, I mean, I know you're not the whole board, but I'm hoping that in the future that could be handled a whole lot differently.
Well, actually at the board meeting, I was trying to get some information at the end to saying, firstly with the tabling of the proposals as to how long, when it would be, when are they planning on bringing this back? And also the reasons for not discussing the proposals. And I think after that, we had a conversation, we had a meeting on that. And I think that's why we are now back to the situation of where we're really puzzled. And as you know, we did not do 2 zone walks following that board meeting because there was really no point in us doing that until we got clarification from the board as to what they wanted us to do. And we had also used the ranking plan that was created by Cheryl, and pretty much all the proposals were in the A and Bs. So, as the top priority, and still the board did not. So they did explain that they did not have time to actually go and look at the sites. And I think this is what's going to change. And in the meantime, also with John Baker talking about the juniper trees and feeling that they should remain, I thought it was necessary to have an arborist look at that so that it'd be clear as to why those trees need to be removed. I mean, those courts were just resurfaced a year or 2 years ago, and they have a lifespan of 8 to 10 years, but they won't if those trees remain. So. And the board has to come up with their own idea of shade. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? No. All right. So the next item would be homeowner comments. We seem to be, there's nobody on Zoom. Carol Duke, anybody else? Anyone wants any homeowners? Marcus, is here any comments? No. So, okay, perfect. Okay. So next we go on to the review, the updated homeowner landscape request approval process. So let's bring that up. And I know this was following your question. And I think this is an updated one. You've changed a few things in here. So perhaps,
Okay.
no, there was something else too. No, I thought, what about that 2,500? Not in there. This,
I'd like to make,
if the resulting proposal is under, that's not in here. The only thing in the board that we decided to add was that fast.
there's a problem in the process here.
Yeah,
Let me point out.
but also, can I just say that, just to make sure that this is the correct one,
We may have made, this may be a version.
this could be a different version. So D is, and the previous one was proposal will first be discussed with board liaison and grounds committee chair, or in the absence of a assigned liaison, the board president or vice president will be consulted with concurrence from any 2 of the above positions. Management may authorize the work order requesting approval. So that was changed. But then what about E? Has changed. E has been omitted now? Oh, no.
No, I think what we have here is perhaps a version that this one's in red, and I don't know when this was done. The $2,500, to my knowledge, was not taken out of E.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, I think that something has happened. The only change that was made by the board to this form and to this process was clarification. Don,
Was
thank
what?
you. clarification. You had requested some clarification at the last meeting and I said we'd come back with it.
Because the clarification was going to require updating of the process. It wasn't just clarification that was going to be required. I'd like to make just a couple comments about this, and call me picky, but I think it goes to one of the issues that you're discussing right now, that the date, it says revised 12/11/2020, and then this is revised 9/7/22, which was before the September committee meeting where we discussed this. So I'm looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute. But then reading through the process, I said, oh, well, this is more understandable. Roman numeral 2 that you were just discussing and where the changes were, I said, oh, it now makes sense if you follow through from step to step to step. And, but another observation is that in none of this is or are the zone stewards notified of anything. And so I think that needs to be included someplace. So the careful management of dates and changes is required, absolutely, and any documentation. And then I think my comment as far as Roman numeral 2, that at least I can follow through from the request to the manager to the proposal. Then, as you just said, Christina, 2 out of 4 agreement, that's the liaison, the chairman, or committee chairman, president or vice president, 2 out of 4 of those people agree, then the proposal will then go to the board of directors for their vote. And so I think that's good. The other comment is that there's no comment, no way of communicating anything to the zone stewards. So
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, but here's another, I think we'd really have to review this again. Because I think the board actually, did the board approve this at their, October or September, October meeting?
They approved it at the September, wait a minute, the October meeting, we approved this correction, that addition of the sentence.
So October 2022.
Correct.
The board
So
meeting
that's why
then.
I think that
What
what we
is
have
the
distributed.
date of the revision that was approved by the board?
Hang on a second. Yeah, wait, what date?
It was the budget meeting, wasn't it? On 9/28,
Our executive meeting, we had that discussion.
9/28.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
so-
like it was 9/28.
Okay, so
I'd have
9/20.
to go back.
So 9/28/2022 is when the board actually approved this. But what we're saying, firstly, apart from Don's comment just now, you did change basically because to get clarification is that I think your question at the beginning was if the chair, liaison, and manager are not present, then who? And we've just mentioned that so now if we're not present, then either the president or vice president.
President or vice president, the goal here is to have 2 people approve either the chair, the liaison, the vice president, or the president with the manager. 2 out of those 4.
It reads that 2 of the 4 need to approve. The manager just standing by waiting.
Correct. That's
Yes.
correct. 2 out of the 4 and the manager.
And the manager.
But the manager is the one that writes the order, then sends the order on to.
So management may
contractor.
authorize the proposed work.
Correct.
Proposal will first be discussed with the board liaison, the grounds committee chair. Or in the absence of an assigned liaison or grounds committee chair, the board president or vice president will be consulted. With concurrence from any 2 of the above positions, management may authorize the proposed work. So I think that's pretty clear. What's not is, and I think what we'll just have to do then is to add, because this line, because I was under the impression that you had removed that line, but you haven't. So the line that I'm just talking about is if the resulting proposal is under 2,500 with concurrence of the, now we say with concurrence of the manager, liaison and chair, the proposal will be approved for completion. Correct. If the proposal is over 2,500, the proposal will be placed on the next open board meeting agenda for board consideration.
And again, I think what we have here is that in getting this material pulled together, we've pulled an old version.
Yes, yeah.
And
yeah,
added
absolutely.
this sentence to the old version
Yeah.
because the last one that came to this committee included the 2,500.
Yeah.
So we've got a mismatch of
Yeah.
versions, but we'll clear it up.
Don't mean anything. Let's go back and say, keep good track of the changes in the dates and where
Yeah,
the
they,
process is.
well, we have that, haven't we, Betsy? I mean, that's, you've got it all sorted, right? Yeah, yeah.
Christina,
Yeah.
maybe one of the things that will address Don's concern about clarity is that when Betsy's authorized, two of the four will direct the manager to authorize. The verb
Yeah.
direct or instruct may clarify. So you don't mix.
Two of the four are required, according to this, two of the four are required to forward it. Two of the four are required to forward it to the board of directors for their approval.
That's fine, but my confusion was that you implied that Betsy was part of the decision-making process. She is not. That's the only comment I'm
I
making.
said, no,
Okay, so I think your point is right, because what you're saying is, it says here, management may authorize, but they say management will be directed to authorize. But you, it's fine, yeah. Yes, yes, will be directed to authorize. Because may is, may, can, should, will be authorized. Yeah, okay.
Can
I'll
you
just take a note. Yes.
provide us a copy with the 2,500 in it so that I
Yes.
can understand that? Thank you.
Yeah,
Because that,
because once I get that, because I just noticed it. So,
okay.
yeah, so I thought it had been dropped, but it hasn't. So, yeah, okay,
So
that's
can
fine.
Can I verbally ask a question about that? So you and Cheryl are approving those work orders? Is that it? The $2,500 ones?
No, it
under tw-
doesn't, no, hang on. It says, if the resulting proposal is under 2,500 with concurrence of the manager, liaison and chair, the proposal will be approved.
Okay, well, that's you, right?
Basically, that means that of the four positions, we're looking for two people, either the chair and the liaison,
About
Or
under
the-
25 is what I'm talking.
under 2,500, yes, two people, and it does not then go to the board.
Right.
It goes through, correct.
so there's a separate process for less than 2,500.
Correct.
And that's,
And with maybe, yeah, and direct something or, yeah, with any
I'll
question,
do
yeah.
that before I go
Yeah.
home. I'd
No.
send it to both of you and you can just-
Yeah, that's fine. That's great. Okay.
So I do have one last
Yeah.
question, sorry. It seems to me that I understand that Betsy and Cheryl are kind of covered liability wise in terms of their, if something happens mistake wise with the under 2,500. But Christine, that feels like it puts you in a really terrible position, to be honest with you. I'm just bringing it up for your own good. I hope I'm not intruding on that, but I felt like you need to know that.
that's good.
Keep that one over there. I have an extra, so that's. green. It's
Oh,
ready
okay.
to go.
It'll explode. Okay, in light of liaison and committee chair, et cetera, why isn't the finance committee liaison involved in this process? Because if the finance committee has fiduciary responsibility, then why aren't they involved?
The board has fiduciary responsibility.
Board does too, but
That's the
because,
board has.
but the finance committee does also.
But the liaison is here for grounds, who then communicates with the liaison on finance
Yes,
because
but
yeah,
I'm just curious to know why the finance committee liaison isn't one of the two.
The decision about spending the money and how much money basically comes from the board, not from the finance committee. They make recommendations just as
No,
this
no, I
committee does.
understand, I understand advisory and everyone has their own interpretation of advisory. I get it. But I'm just asking, why is it the finance committee isn't part of the process
The-
to ensure there is, I guess, objectivity, someone watching how the money is spent?
here's my suggestion to that, Lisa, that this is a question that you should perhaps ask the board. This is not something that we can respond to. So that's a question. I know you got a liaison here, but you could also direct that question to the board at the appropriate time, you know, at the next board meeting perhaps, and question that. Because right now, because we are really dealing on the grounds issues right now, but that's a
One-
good
w-
point.
One more question on this. So when the updates and the correct revisions and everything are available, it will come back to the grounds committee for their review before going to the board for adoption by the board.
It's been approved by the board. What we're doing is correcting the phrasing so that it's clear what we're talking about, but the delegation has already
That
happened.
then needs board approval.
Correct. They have approved the $2,500. I think our
I'm-
problem here is that we're working with Miss.
Cheryl, I'm talking about the whole document. The whole document, the process, the
Right,
title and the dates on it and everything, the
right.
process for homeowner landscape requests.
Mhm.
I'm talking about that document because the issues that you're referring to are part of this document. And my question is, what we have today is in error. It's not the correct document. So as you go through and have then the correct document available, will that document then come to this committee for review before going to the board for their approval on that revised document?
I don't think so. It's going to go to the
I
board.
think I would say that this committee ought to have a view of that document.
Well, this is actually being approved by the board as far as I understand. So we can always
Well, then
request
let- then-
something.
then-
We can
then
always.
let's have a copy of what the board actually did.
Yes, and that's what you will be receiving.
Okay.
Once the edits are done, you will receive that. They did approve this, 20 on 9/28. To,
So the board approved it on 9/28, you said? Before the October board meeting? Approved 9/28 by board. Okay, thank you.
so we did spend quite a lot of time on that, on the ranking plan last meeting. We used that for the proposals that are now going to go before the board on the 2nd of November again. But there were a lot of emails going back and forth about the fact that you all wanted to perhaps review the ranking plan again. It was a little bit maybe unclear, so we're bringing it back. Is any questions on that now? Does anybody, because everybody did say, there was a lot of emails going back and forth asking about this. You all happy with this as it stands? Yes.
Can we just, could it just get a restatement of the purpose of this document? Even
They-
Linda and I have gone back and forth on
Okay.
what its purpose is.
The intent in drafting this was to provide another level of information to the board when they review the proposals so that they can see not just the words and not just, oh, this, and this, but they could see where we feel that the most value is if they have to make choices. So if they have to look at 3 proposals and, hey, we need to get 1, we can't do 2, for whatever reason, they have some indication of which ones we feel are of most value. And if you want to put it in financial terms, where do we get our bang for our buck? You know, so if we're doing something that's going to save us money later, then that's what we have as our top number 1. This would be top priority if you have to choose. It's not suggesting that they will always choose, but it gives them more information about the severity of the problem, the benefits of doing the work, that kind of thing. So it was just to give more information to the directors as they look at it. Many of the directors, when they go out to look at these proposals, can look at them and say, okay, yeah, something's needed, but they don't have the discussion time that we've had. They don't have other people to bounce it off with. It gives them one more level. So that's the reason that I felt that it might be useful to develop.
But this is for every proposal that we're recommending to the board. Is that,
That would be the intent that I drafted it with. The board, this committee can agree, not, you know, the last time we met, I was under the impression that most of the members here were in favor of some kind of ranking system. And certainly it can be adjusted to what you feel is appropriate. But the intent was to add an extra layer of information to the board.
So I think that when you were alluding to us discussing it, one of the things was, it was like the ranks and then the goals. And at one point I remember thinking, why are we doing this? So I think I understand the ranking and I think the goals should be there, but I don't know that you always have to say rank 1 achieves goal C, whatever. I mean, to me, it was overkill on what we wanted the board to see.
Yeah, and I think, again, in drafting it, the goal was to make it clear so that no one thought, oh, you must mean this. So it is overkill and it's oversimplification of this is this is this, but it's sometimes when something, this is my perspective, sometimes when something's brand new, the more detailed you are, the clearer it is to everyone. This does not have to go this form or anything else to everybody, but it's an intent. Is this our purpose? Is this what we're aiming for? Are we being clear about what we're saying when we give that rank?
So I have a quick question on this. Is there any way we can just say it's A, B, C, D, or E? Okay, and then, okay, thank you. But what I would say is this. If it's B and C, then you can put B and C in the same thing. It doesn't have to just be 1. But I think the rank part of it is confusing when you're trying to go, oh, this is a C4. You know, you're trying to figure out, you know, what you're talking about. And I just think it's A through E. And if it's B and C, it's B and C. If it's A and B, it's A and B. I think it's okay to have 2. It just feels like it's cumbersome trying to figure it out. That's all. That's my
So
perspective.
what you're saying is remove the rank 1, but just say goal A.
I would just say get rid of the ranking below.
Yeah. So, and just say A, B, C. Yeah, I see. So A through E.
This proposal achieves goals A and B.
And that's exactly what we did for the proposals.
You can just say A and B, A/B, you'll know what it is.
Yeah, because that's what we did also with the proposals, and that we just said ranking A or ranking B and ranking C
So
or whatever.
Yeah, I also think that is less subjective because
Yeah.
when you're ranking something, we could all be ranking something a different number.
Yeah,
The
it's-
more I
it's-
thought about it, the more
yeah.
confusing it was to me. And I thought, okay, I don't want to pass something else on that's more that's
So,
confusing.
so yeah, so remove that section entirely, that rating. That makes sense. And then have just the goals. And okay, and what about the bottom line, which is actually A subscript of S added to a rank will indicate that the associated planting work will not be performed during the summer months. Do we need that?
I really don't think that you need to put that in there. I think that's common sense.
Okay, so so that clear, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this will simplify it. I can't, yeah, because I'm really all over the place with rank 1 achieves goal A and well,
So
So I've
is the
lost it.
summer rank, didn't we already agree? We're not planting in the summer anyway,
Yes.
so it's kind of superfluous. here.
yes, we are not planting
Okay.
in the summer,
Okay.
correct?
Thank you.
So perfect. So I think that simplifies everything here. Excellent. Yes. Oh, God. Here she goes.
I agree with leaving the ranking out because it does muddy the waters that much more. However, I thought we were going to put this out in the field before we approve it to see how it actually works.
We already have. We actually used it for the 4 proposals that went to the
Not all
board.
Zone stewards have had that benefit.
Well, yes, zones 1, 2, 4,
We had, Zone 3 has.
but you didn't have a proposal.
Well,
But next time you get a proposal, we'll do it.
maybe I can walk with someone, one of the other zones.
Well, yeah, fine. Okay. Okay, so let's move on now now we're going to the 2 proposals that were tabled from last month's meeting. Zone 5 and Zone 7. Which one do we have up here? Okay, so you might have seen that that we had one proposal that we had tabled. That was one proposal for Zone 5 dated. Which one is this? This is, yeah. Okay, Dawn, so we had sent in 2 proposals. Dawn, do you want to go through this one? Because we changed some of the addresses.
Be happy to.
A microphone, please. And don't touch the button.
I'll be happy. Can you hear me? I'll be happy to. Christina and I went through these on our first proposal, which was $43,000 and change, and looked at everything that we felt was not an A or B and discarded it for now. If you look at the new proposal that came back from Carson, we have 501. 501 is a drainage issue, and that's why it's there. 209, 211, 213 is a drainage issue. That's why it's there. I'm going to come back to, that's supposed to be Vanderbilt 1225. I'd like to come back to that. 1125, Christina, and I don't for the life of me know why we want to spend money at this house. It's been vacant for 10 years. I know it sits out on the street. I don't think it looks that bad. And, I don't know why I was trying to
It's
figure out.
it's a small area in any case, but I think it's really just for street, for the
Aesthetics.
fact, looking, just
okay.
for the area to look decent, because it
Oh,
doesn't
oh,
really look
okay.
very good, and it's
I am-
frontage and
I
that's
am
the only-
totally opposed to.
It's a major street on Vanderbilt and it just looks
I
dreadful.
know,
So
okay.
It always does. So it's a good opportunity
You're-
to do
You've
that.
sold me. Don't say another word, okay? I am totally opposed to lay down or walk on bark. It is nothing. My wife sweeps it up probably 3 times a week in our driveway because the turkeys and the dogs do nothing but just ruin it. I wish Carson could come up with, or maybe we need to come up with something else we can put down
It's
besides,
on the agenda.
excuse me?
It's on the agenda to discuss.
Perfect. And okay, so I agree on 1125, 1305, 1408 is an area in the back where if you walk out your back gate, and I realize those walks aren't very wide off of Vanderbilt, there's a 2 trees with a big mud area around 2 different yards. And if and when it rains, they're just going to be a mud hole. And I would hate to walk out there and fall off or step off into the mud. So they're going to put rock, and I don't think the cost should be very much. And so that's why we approved those. I personally would like to see in the future, and I think we discussed this, I'd like to see an individual price on these. So we have the option of deciding, hey, maybe we don't want to do that right now. Right now, I mean, I can, it's like a wild scientific, wild a guess. Back to Vanderbilt, it says Elmhurst, but Vanderbilt 1225. This was never on our original work order. I don't know. I would like to know. Somebody in this room must have approved this or must have woke up in the middle of the night and decided it needed to be on here. Who put it on here? Why? Why?
I did not approve it, for sure.
You what?
I did not approve it, but when I did the revision on those items that you guys want me to take out, I ran into my notes and when I was running into my notes, that piece was missing from the proposal. So what I did, I put it back in and removed the rest of the items that you guys didn't want. Price did not change because it also was already included. It was just a mistake that Carson, myself didn't pay attention that I was there. So I put it back in there.
Well, it never was there. It wasn't in the original one.
That's what I
Isn't it?
said. It was not
Okay.
there.
So you're going to pull it out and revise the price?
No, it was the first, what he's saying is that was an error on his part. At the first one, we did not put 1225 in there. When he was doing the revision, he realized that had not been put in. And so he added it to the revised proposal. And
Let-
here is, we've got several.
There, do you have a lot of pictures of that?
Yes,
In that
we do.
picture? Well, I met with the owner today, and that is not what we want to do over there. Okay?
but
No, you and I talked about it.
no,
Christina.
no. I said, no, and we didn't talk about it.
We
We
did too
said,
talk about it.
I said to you, why are you speaking to the homeowner
Okay.
about this
I
proposal?
don't think this is an A or a B. Yes, she has waited a couple years to have this done. She's a neighbor of mine, a friend of mine. Yeah, there should be something there. Can you move it to the right? Okay, he wants to take out we don't want the ivy taken out. There's a little spot down, it comes from the garage around the corner that needs some improvement. But I don't see, well, see, you're showing that.
So-
That is covered over and doesn't need to be, I mean, ground down. I don't see that as an A or B personally. I would like to do something for her around by her garage where it's bare. But it's not the,
But the stump has been removed from there, correct? Has the stump been removed?
why don't
The
we?
stump has been removed from there because there's some, that's why you didn't see it. The stump has been removed.
Okay.
Here. We asked him, yes,
We don't want that. She doesn't want
but,
this
but
door
see,
now,
here's the problem here, Don.
between front door and.
But this is the problem, that in August is when we did the walk, beginning of August, I believe it was the 4th of August. Betsy then did send us the walk notes. I made a few corrections on that, on the walk notes, and you actually said, yes, you approve it as well on the emails. So that was in August. So now it's really hard if you're going to come back and suddenly say you've
I
spoken to
don't
the
think I
homeowner.
approved it, okay?
I can show you.
I
oh,
would have
there's-
never approved this
Yes,
because,
you did, actually.
well, I disagree with you, okay?
Okay, this looks good.
Okay.
You need
would-
2 additional work.
Right
So
there. Okay.
here's my comment. Hang on.
But see, it only shows,
Betsy, I agree with Christina's evaluation, Don Elwanger, on this particular walk notes. And you didn't mention
you know,
anything.
I'd like to know, Oscar, what that area is going to cost. We're spending way too much money on doing this, which it doesn't need to be done. And today, Christina, listen to me, on the phone, you said to me, you said, I agree, we don't need to tear out the
I
ivy,"
did
and
not
we don't.
say that, Don. I said
You certainly
I said
did.
I was driving and I didn't have the proposal in front of me. So I
That's
did
what we
not
said. You
say-
said you're probably right. And
I did not say I was probably right. That is an absolute wrong comment to make. That is not what I said, and I
discussed it.
disagree. I was in the car and I said, I don't have the proposal in front of
Okay.
me. When I get back, I will call you. I then sent you a text saying I was running late and I couldn't talk to you, but I will be discussing it. But I had no time. Did I say to you, yes? And I actually, my comment was, why are you speaking to the homeowner?
Let me, why what?
Why are you speaking to the homeowner and discussing something with her when this is at a committee meeting is when I said we should be discussing this.
Because she
That's
happens
the
to be,
reason.
she happens to be my neighbor, okay?
Well, this
And I
still
know
doesn't
her on,
matter.
I know her on a
She's
personal
not-
basis.
She's not
This
the
is a common,
landscape.
this is common area. And I did not tell you that I agree with
spending-
you.
What I would like to do, why can't the three of us meet out there tomorrow and let's look?
No,
at
I'm not
the
going
whole
to
thing?
do that
Okay, well, we're
because
spending, you know.
where is the homeowner
it's too
here? Is
much
she not
money.
here? Why is
too
she
much
not
money.
here?
I don't have anything to say about this.
Where's the homeowner? Yes,
The
you
homeowner,
did.
I asked the
Back in
homeowner, I
August.
asked her to come and she had a meeting that she could not
Well, I
avoid.
mean, this has
okay?
been, we have had this on hold since August now.
This hasn't been on hold. This showed up, wasn't on our first one, and you know that. And I said, why? is
Okay,
this
what
on
would you
this?"
like to do here? What do you want to do on this one? Not approve this at all? Anything?
No, I want to approve.
What do you want to prove?
I'm fine with everything that you and I had agreed to, with exception of this Vanderbilt.
No, we had agreed,
1225.
yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want to do 1225?
No,
Is the homeowner aware of the fact that you have said no to this?
she's aware of the fact that what we want to do and what is on the work order is not the same thing, and it's a lot less
Well,
expense.
you mean she doesn't want any remediation? She wants that area to look like that?
Isn't what I said. I said it's a lot less
Well,
money.
today
than
we
what's
have
on
to,
here.
either approve this and move forward with this and get this done. And if she doesn't want the ivy removed, we don't actually have, we can discuss that, but right now we have to actually go ahead and approve something here.
Approve the whole thing or part of it?
Yes, if we want to get this done and move forward with it.
So
Oh,
I can't eliminate one of these
No,
and approve everything
no,
else?
no.
Okay, well, then
No,
then-
because we will be on hold again. So again for next month.
Let me explain why the ivy needs to go. It used to be a really heavily shaded area. And there have been two trees that have, one failed and one was removed in the last few years. And so the ivy is now in full sun, and that is why it looks bad. In that photo, it's not so bad, but it is bad. It is in full sun and it's just burning up.
And
It's not
yeah.
a good choice there.
And it's also, it's saying that to remove the ivy and that we're going to be putting remove the stumps and install new plants. So to me, it looks like something that a homeowner would be really happy to have and to live with, as opposed to what she has now. And so again, I really don't want to hold off on something like this. And again, but I'd like everybody to understand. So what do you want to do? Go ahead with this?
Well, no, I don't understand why it wasn't in the first one. And now all of a sudden.
It was
it's
an
in it
error.
Because it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. So why can't we just put a hold on this and approve everything else?
Because
Like
we
you
have
and I-
got no individual prices. It's a small amount in here. How much, it's a small amount for this?
It's not a small amount on that.
As I say, it was my mistake that I didn't put them in, right? So when I put that one back in, the price did not change. It was already on my list when I did all my review, my cost, but it was not in your proposal. So if I was a dishonest person or dishonest company, I should just leave it out and you guys not even notice it. But I put it in because I wanted to make sure that that's the truth. I make the mistake, and that's why I put it back in there. Nothing else I can say on that.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Yes.
What can we do in place of walk on bark? I mean, it seems like every time we're doing something, it's walk on bark, but it is a big.
That's on
mess
the
and
agenda
problem.
item right now, so we will discuss that. So we will discuss that later, but this is right now, we're still working on this zone 5. So I would like to suggest that we actually move ahead with approving this. If does anybody have objections? Let's say all the committee members, any objections to this?
Question. Okay, in light of this discussion 1225, you mentioned, Oscar, that the price didn't change, but because there are no prices here, what is the price of 1225?
It,
I know it's a comprehensive price, but you mentioned that it was.
yeah, 43,000, it was 43,200 is what the original, 43,200 was the original.
But
And
that
now-
didn't include this, that didn't include that one?
It did include.
What
it.
he's saying, it did include
Included.
it. When he does his costing, he's using an Excel, I think an Excel spreadsheet. But this goes to Jocelyn for putting into a Word document, it seems that I don't know how to explain what happens, but.
It was
doesn't-
included in there. But unfortunately, 1225 was not shown on the proposal. He realized his mistake when he did the revised and he said, have to put 1225 back on there. Now, like he said, he could have just have forgotten about it, not put it in. But being an honest company, they said, okay, we're putting it in here. So this is the price. So that's where we are right now. Okay. Yes, no, we don't really, if anybody has,
Wait a minute.
Dawn, you had a question. Are you
Well,
okay?
Rather,
Okay, so do we have any objections, in other words, to approving, sending this to the board for approval?
can I say one thing? Rather than hold all this up, okay? And I don't agree with 1225,
Mm.
but under the circumstances, I don't want to hold up the rest of it because some of them are drainage problems,
Yes.
okay?
Exactly.
But in the future,
Yes,
I want all of us need to look a little closer because I think some of this that's being done in 1225 is a waste of our money. And I personally would like to stay within the budget for 1 year.
okay. So do we have any opposition to sending, is everybody actually in agreement with sending this to the board for approval?
Well,
For-
I had a comment here because this is, John, this is a question for you. In all this and in light of fiscal responsibility and on the light of that, we're going to have a big dues increase and et cetera, which are these deal with irrigation?
With irrigation?
Yes, with irrigation.
With drainage.
Okay, drainage, okay.
Now, when you're, I mean, there's a lot. of
Yes, irrigation, drainage, pooling, water pooling, that,
That's why Christine and I went through these and cut it down to the ones that we have because of.
okay, so basically most of these are deal with some type of a,
It says right,
yeah, it says a drip system.
209. Yeah, all of them pretty much have something to do if we get some weather this year with an irrigation or a pooling or a flooding problem.
Okay, so they all have some type of a problem.
With exception of 1225.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway,
Oh,
I'm not gonna hold those up.
so do we have any, is everybody in agreement to sending this to the board for their approval? Is anybody, any opposition to that? All in agreements of consent? No. Yeah, so everybody has agreed to that. Okay. This is all pretty much A and B though. They are, because this is drainage and it's areas, these are also, we took out the areas that were not A and B is what we did. So all of these would be A and B. No, it's okay. Okay, so that's going through without objection. It's reached a consensus. Okay. Now zone 7 again was, can we have that up there? Zone 7 was again tabled from last month. It was tabled because Solveig was not present. She cannot be here today either, but she has advised me that yes, absolutely, she is in agreement with the proposal and she would like this to be moved forward, and they are all A and Bs. So do I have, is anybody objecting to sending this to the board for, yeah, Nina?
I have a question on them.
Yes.
These were areas that were fixed earlier this year. There are things that have been done in at least the 1555 and 1557 areas. And while I know that one of those, and I think it's the 1575 area, needed some planting, I'm not sure why we didn't remove what we needed to do at that time, and all of a sudden we got to remove more, and we never planted it. So I'm kind of thrown on that. And
Can I ask a question? When was that done? Back, oh, the renovation of that alley. So that was done last,
just this year.
but it
mean,
was
this
approved.
summer.
When was it approved? Oh, yeah, you get, yeah.
So that was the alley renovation. It didn't look at any of the fronts. And when we were on the zone walk, that's where we were. We were on the front of these buildings. And that's where this is. I can probably bring up the zone 7 walk.
This is in
photos.
an alley that you're showing it on the thing, and 1557 or 1575 was not part of that alley that was redone. That alley was the 1473 to the 1533 area, was down over there. So it's over in that area, but there was work done this summer in that spot exactly. And they tore all the plants out, or part of them, and then left it. And then now you want to tear more plants out in the area. So I'm a little bit thrown by it. 1575, yes. I don't know. It just feels like this area is getting a lot of.
Can you
redo.
address that?
I got it. I was just I want to make sure like which address it was. So that's why I was looking at.
So 1575, yeah. And it's in the alley where it looks like, or actually, I don't know, maybe it is the front, but it looks like it was in a whole area that was not getting. Maybe it's the front that they're fixing it, but the front part of it is.
I do remember that now. That's the one on the side in the alleyway, the 8 privets there.
They did a remove a tree there. So the only thing that we did on that section, it was from that tree that has been removed and grind, we did add some plant materials from that section to the street.
There, that's it. Here.
And so this is from the walk notes for zone 7. Let's just start at the beginning, which is up here. August 19th, 2022. So here's the first one, 1461 University. Mrs. Given and her advocate, Paul Keller, have been on the phone with us this week, wondering what's happening with this. And then these were some smaller things. Okay, 1557 University is where we have the irrigation shed. And there's also a large smud box here.
Yeah.
And when we were standing there, we felt all of the shrubs were really old, and there was this chase tree that was quite lovely. So it was agreed to remove the aging shrubs and replace just the one in front of the controller box with the Nandina domestica.
So can I ask a question on that? It's like, I don't know, what are we going to put there in its place? Because now we're just going to have the controller box
Right,
showing.
well, no, that says replace one in front of controller housing with a Nandina domestica, which gets tall. And the chase tree is actually quite lovely and bushy.
Right.
Now this was
tree
August
was fine,
19th,
yeah.
so it wasn't as at its fullest, but it's usually much prettier than that. No, because they're past their useful life. 1575 University near the alley, requesting a proposal to remove this row of privets, grind the stumps, and plant appropriate shrubbery. And example of depleted bark, recommend looking into a bark replenishment policy. So this is the front of her home. So That's what that's about. There were trees here. I remember pear trees, right, Oscar? That's where the pear trees were. So there's pear stumps and you can't get the pear stumps out without destroying the shrubs. So that appeared to be the perfect time to address it and get rid of the stumps.
Christina, I walked all three of these this morning because I wasn't very familiar with them. And it seems to me all the work that is identified needs to be done.
Right.
It doesn't seem at $9,000, at $3,000 a house.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem, it seems very reasonable.
okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. And that's also at 1575, Nina, that was one of the concerns was the fence as well. It was just having a problem with that. So I guess any other questions, any other comments? Any objection to sending this proposal to the board for their approval? One?
I don't think it's.
Okay, so one nay, do it still need? Okay, so then let's do a motion then. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I move to approve these
As-
three projects.
Do I have a second? Linda seconds. Okay, so Steve. No, so Rick and Linda. Okay, and all in favor? Raise your hands, please. Oh, Joan, are you in favor of this? Yeah. So okay. Nays? Nays? Lisa, nays? Nay? Nina, and anybody else? Elvanger?
Nay.
Nay. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so,
Part in these proposals is you can't come up and say, oh, I agree with this one, but not with the other two.
well, I think this is something we might want to think about, perhaps even about now, not maybe having a price for the whole item, but actually for the different addresses. Maybe that's something we can think about and consider. Is
Well,
that-
I can tell you that the board has invited Frank Carson to meet with them in executive session to discuss this. So
Perfect, okay.
Okay,
excellent.
so in the future, they're going to be individual.
there we'll discuss it and it'll be a contract negotiation. It remains to be seen whether Mr. Carson feels that that's a business model he wants to pursue. So there is a contract negotiation.
Yeah. So, okay, so we'll just have to wait until we get advised at the next meeting then as to what the board's decision is. Okay, so the next item is we're discussing bark replenishment process and ground cover options. And I know there's been a lot of reaction to the bark. But I thought might be a good opportunity perhaps to get some ideas from Carson, from Oscar, or unless you all have some opinions, but maybe Oscar can steer us in the right direction as to what he suggests for that.
So at this time, we are doing a renovation at Costco, on Costco's. So I'm doing 2 Costco's. So on those renovations, it's sections of turf that we're removing and also sections of bark that we are removing. So what we are doing right now, we're doing a combination of rocks. So if you guys have some time to just go by, we start working on those ones. So basically, rocks are basically the next step instead the bark. It lasts you longer, stays in place, depending on what size that you put it in. And also you can have a combination of type of rocks. So that's one of the options too. The other option that it is up there, it's not bark, but it's also like a rubber from tires that you don't really want to do that. But so
What about?
So Oscar, oh, I have a question about the rock. So, because, and I'm thinking of Costco and all the places that you walk between the bushes. And if you put rock down, can you walk over it?
Yes, so that's why my recommendation is just to go by and look at it. I mean, it's not done, we don't process, but yes. So what we're doing right now, on the edges, we basically put in a 2x4. On the planters inside, we doing a 3/4 gold, cal gold, that's the name of the rock. And around the trees, we put in a wash rock that has a different texture. So that's a good point that you bring up, because we the ones are gonna start cleaning those areas, and we don't want our people to just tremble or do anything. So that's why we're using that type of rock that is easy to walk. So when we're doing the blowing and the cleaning and the pruning, we'll be able to do that.
How big is it? What's
As I
the
said,
size of
it's
the
a
rock?
2-inch by 4, the ones around, and it's a 1-inch by 1.5, and it's a 3/4.
So like that?
It's some that's like a inch to. Yeah, but that's a mixture. It's not, those one really have
you-
just that.
Can you bring us some samples or something? Can
Yes,
you?
I can.
Yeah, that'll be
Mhm.
good. And
Yeah.
then to give us an idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all the pictures of the rock, so you guys can look it up.
And then there's,
And
al-
I creating a binder for that purpose.
and then there's also the other possibility is some sort of a ground cover or,
When you're gonna do ground cover, meaning plants ground cover,
yeah, like, yeah.
you cannot add rock into that.
No, but I mean, without the rock, instead of rock, if you're looking, it's just looking at examples. Is there a
Yes, you can do
particular?
that, but also you have to think about it. What do you want to accomplish? Are you gonna try to save water? What type of irrigation is gonna be there that is gonna accomplish that too? So it's based on that too. So
And so, and bark is, they're getting rid of bark because why? Why should we get rid of bark? What's the pluses to
the,
get
the
rid of
only
bark?
thing about bark, it looks beautiful, but you have to do a replenishment every year.
Every
It's-
year?
Don't, no matter what you do, you have to
Yeah.
do that. Either with the blowers, either with not the blowers, either with anything. It just has to do a replenishment on it.
So
Looking like.
if you do rock, I would suggest in some areas where we have some of the river kind of areas, creek areas, they look fabulous. But rock absorbs heat. And it is going to be really hot in the summer. And if your whole front areas are having rock in them, it's
Yeah.
going to be miserable to walk out here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just am, I think there has to be some kind of low maintenance, low growing ground cover that we can put in
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure
low
out. Yeah,
water. There has to be something.
yeah. Is there anything that's low water, low maintenance, and still looks good? Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
But I saw. Never mind. So I was driving on La Riviera. Yeah, that's refresh. Ta-da, yeah, okay. Now, you're gonna look at the home.
You're gonna look at the homes and you're gonna go, well, Nepenthe is much prettier than these homes. And you're right, they are. But I want to show you, not this one. Where's my next one? Oh my God. No, it looks like it only attached one photo. Damn it. Anyway, there are shrubs that grow low to the ground. And the thing that we did hear from Garth Ruffner is the vegetation itself should cover the ground. So a low mounding shrub that will spread out, does not have to be hedged, does not require planting a ground cover underneath it where it's fighting. That can often be the answer. And I do have pictures on my phone of what this looks like. But the specimen that I wanted to show you is called Wheeler's Dwarf. And we use it a lot here in Nepenthe, but we usually end up hedging it. And that's sort of the key, you guys. If you let it get so old that you have to hedge it, then you're done. It's done. That plant is done. Yeah, but I mean, you can have many years of life of it. You just have to make sure that you're going to have a policy to replace it. You don't have to do it like bark every 2 years, and you don't have to have rock that's going to be hot, but it's an appropriate low mounding shrub. And there are lots of them that can do this. Wheeler's Dwarf is one of them. A lot of the grasses, like in this picture, they're kind of doing this with grasses. You can see right here.
Well, couldn't we do a combination of those kinds of things? Because some areas, the shrubs aren't going to cover like that, right?
Yeah, that's
Especially
my
along
goal.
walkways. Well, that's where the bark is miserable on those walkways.
Yeah, and so can't we use, I mean, we've got some proposals now. Is there a way, instead of putting bark on? Oh, go ahead.
I think something that we have to take into consideration is if there is drip already in a spot and you have bark on there, walk on bark, then that would be an area suitable for that low lying shrub. But if you have an area that does not have any drip or any watering system, then perhaps a rock would be better, because now you're talking about replacing an area. You've got to put a drip system in. Yeah. Yes, yes. Right, yeah.
Especially by the downspout.
And I think in zone 2, there's more areas there to have some rock in certain spots because there's a lot of shade around. So it's not going to get hot or anything. But I'm just wondering is how do we do the first step in trying this out, the ground cover? So we've got a lot of proposals ahead of us.
I could
Yeah.
volunteer the area under the tulip tree behind my house, which has netafim under it. And every morning or every evening, I can see where the water comes through, but the ground is bare.
So what do
It's
you,
bare.
so are you saying this should?
I'm saying if you want to try it there.
No,
you
but I
can
mean,
try it
should
there.
it have should it have ground cover?
It should have something. I mean, if I put rocks
Right.
on it, the water's still going to be coming out
So-
of the drip.
So I'm thinking that some of our proposals, instead of having walk on bark, why don't we try using,
I agree. I agree with
why don't
that.
we try using some of that instead? A suggestion from you?
I know why,
Why?
because you'll have a higher plant cost and there's a lot of resistance to them. And you have to mass them together.
So it's going to cost more.
Am I right? Is that right? That's right.
So it's going to cost more than having, and then maintenance, which we don't, I mean, what we're doing with bark is that we have to replenish it every year, but that's it. There's no maintenance involved really. Right. So are we saying therefore it's going to be costing more to install the ground cover? No. So what is the cost more? Why is it costing more for ground cover than say for bark?
More plants over the area. So let's say you don't do an area like 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So if you're just gonna do plants, you're just gonna do probably like 4 or 5. Now you're gonna put the ground cover, you're gonna fill all those gaps in between.
Here's the prettiest part when it's grown together.
Yes. Yes. But that's not what we're really looking for. We're looking for something just on the ground. Yeah. Plants cover the ground.
But we don't have enough plants to cover the ground right now, right?
There are many places where the plants don't cover. the
They
ground
don't.
Because they've grown up and you
Yeah.
have stems. Or
Yeah.
trunks. That's spreading. Yeah. And so then we think, oh, let's put ground cover underneath it, but that, it doesn't work.
So are we better off filling the area with a plant rather than bark? Yes, I mean, I think are we better off filling it rather than putting bark, filling it with
it depends upon the area. I think you're going to have to, I don't think you're going to be able to do
Right.
a once all covers all. I think you have to look at each area, and that's where it's going to come into the fact of proposals
Well,
in each zone.
Yeah, and so can we do a template then for some, for an area and say, hey, let's try this?
Yeah, could we create something
Yeah.
where X, where the circumstances are this, we do this?
Yep. And see how that works then. I mean, we can look at some of our proposals that we have and try and see and figure out how we want to, and with Oscar's advice also, and then look at the plans and see how we can spread them out.
And you need to consider the timing too, if you've got to replenish the walk-on bark every year
Yes.
versus the plantings maybe last 10 years. Maybe they have a 10-year life,
Yes.
tear them out, replace them.
Yes.
So it's 10 versus 1 or 10 versus,
And we don't have that ugliness of the bark sort of being spread all over the place as well. So yeah, mean-
Any place we put those kind of spiky things, they're not going to ever cover the ground. They'll spread some. They are spreading some, but.
are we
it's,
talking about
it's-
Dianellas or, oh, closer? Yeah. Yeah.
You're not doing rows, no rows.
I think the way to move forward on this is because we have so many proposals, if they do get approved, but we can perhaps choose some of them in different zones and then say, hey, let's try this and then get a better feel. And then we can, and we got proposals in 1, 2, 4,
Small
5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So we can try
We-
it there. I mean, in each of the zones and get a feel for it.
Ma-
I think that's the best way of moving forward and just see it visually.
My question is, there are, just in our zone, there are several small areas that we were talking already about stones, in that if that proposal has already been written, are we going to be able to do that and say, let's try this in a small area? Maybe it's an 8 by 10 area, or maybe it's a 6-foot, area.
I don't see why not.
Is that going to affect the fact that the proposal is written for a walk-on bark, and yet we're going to put something else in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could do, I suppose, is say, okay, Oscar, we approved this, you tell me the spot, right?
Yeah.
And say, this is what was approved. Now, if we're looking at this and instead of doing the bark underneath, we added the plants, build the plant cover, you give me a nice difference. And maybe.
Yeah.
the board approve that.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what Dawn says, we don't have to change it every year. It's just there and it just grows. Yes, sir.
Would it be simpler now that we have a body of work that has already been approved and going to board and hopefully would be approved, to think about the proposals or work order proposals that will follow, so that the option for walk on or rock or whatever would be included in the work order proposal?
Yeah,
so that we
because
don't have to go up and down, up and
no,
down.
no. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've got a couple of months now. If the proposals are approved, then we can start work, and that's when we can choose certain areas and spots and try it out and just check, see how it looks. Betsy, is that something that,
Ever since we started this ground cover discussion, I've been.
yeah,
It is mass planting.
yes,
Rows and-
yeah.
So.
And and I think Carson actually did want to do that in our Zone 6 project, but the problem was that we were restricted by the budget. So we actually had to just put, we couldn't add more plants. And so sometimes some areas you'll see that there should be plants in there, but we haven't put plants. It's because we were restricted by the budget. But ideally, if the ideal situation, we would have planted more smaller plants in between. That's so. But that's what Carson would have preferred. And that was their most expensive option, but which we could not go with. So. Okay, so maybe let's see how the board reacts to this at the next Oh, go ahead,
So
Nina.
the next time we start to replace bark somewhere, why don't we just add plants instead?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it
what we
just
should be
seems
doing.
Silly to add bark.
That's absolutely right. And that's what we should do. And long
Yeah.
term, it's cheaper than what we're
Yeah.
doing now.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
way rather spend that 30 grand a year in plants.
Yeah.
That's going to cover something.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
it's
that's
frustrating.
Yeah, and that's what I would like to do. So let's see, once the board, what their decision is, and then we can take it from there and then decide. Okay. I know, it's dreadful. Yeah, but it is true. I mean, we could have had more in zone 6, but we just couldn't, we didn't have the budget for that. Okay, so we'll bring this back to next month, and then in the meantime, we'll have more information after the board meeting as well. So, all right. Anything from Carson? Do you have to after?
My last day is so okay. The only thing that is going on right now, it's on the watering. So I cut down all the extra watering on the new sod that we have on the new plant, so everything should be running smoothly. So some areas are watering Tuesdays and Saturdays, some others are Wednesdays and Sundays. So it depends on the baseline how they move around. On the watering for the new sod areas and new plants. No extra watering. It's just normal watering. Yeah. So on basically today, it was the first day that we start doing the fertilization on the turf. So this week we will finalize the fertilization. We did zone 1, 2, and 5 today. Also, next week we're gonna do the field weed spray. I mean, it's on the university empty field. Probably you call them like that. Yeah, the yard. And the deep proofing will be done on the last week of November. And as you know, next month or hopefully, yeah, probably next month, there's gonna start a lot of dropping of the leaves. So you guys probably gonna hear those blowers again. The other thing is, just so you guys know, September and October, I've been bringing some extra crews to help out with the pruning. So I don't know if you noticed it, that most of the zones are being keep up with the pruning. Unfortunately, cannot gonna be doing this anymore, bringing extra crews at no cost to you guys. And we're just gonna have to work with what we have.
I just have one question. Are you going to do the deep cleaning? Like once a year, twice a year, deep cleaning where, in other words, I have 3 rock beds and there's all kinds of branches and crap and stuff in there that's, we used to have, we had deep cleaning twice a year.
Okay, so on that deep cleaning that you're talking about. So basically, usually after all the leaves are being dropped, we start doing a deep cleaning, as you call it. But usually our crew, when we work on an area, we always do deep cleaning on all those areas. Unfortunately, when it's a lot of stuff that is going on, it's not the same detail we can get done because we have certain amount of hours to finish. And yes, it probably is some areas that are going to be missed, I will say, or my blower cannot get those ones out anymore because the power is basically controlled now. So we're just going to have to kind of go with that. Oh, they could, yeah, they can do that. I mean, if it's really messy and yeah. Yeah, that's not a problem.
How often do you do that deep detailing?
Every week that we are on this and each zone, we deep detailing.
Zone 3, the heating area, that area will make underneath there, getting any leaves that are behind the shrubs. And that's when you really clean. But after the leaf drop is also a great opportunity because the shrubs have stopped growing, the leaves are now gone, and it's, so you can really spend more time along fence lines, under these shrubs that grow low, attract things underneath.
Correct. Plus, we also do the winter pruning on some of the plantaries that requires it.
Oscar, I didn't hear about the tree pruning schedule. You've got quite a bit of work to do between now and the end of the year. Are you still on schedule?
A quick comment. Thank you. I appreciate the work that was done over in the green belt in zone 1. Looks really good seeing all back to green.
Everything looks good, yeah. Okay, everything looks good. Yes. Yeah, you've got a mic in front of you. I know, absolutely. More kudos, yes. Okay, so we're on to zone steward comments. I just had one thing. You mentioned the zone walk that you were planning to do tomorrow.
Yes.
You can actually still go out there and look at some, because you did say it was overwatering, so.
Yeah, we only have really one problem, and that is the
Mike,
water.
Mike.
That's the watering
Yeah.
around the big zone belt from Commons to Vanderbilt, that area, that whole area, the side houses. I've had complaints from one homeowner who already talked to the other 3 people. They want to put concrete in and take out all the plants because there's water. It's not Tuesday, Saturday. It's been Tuesday.
We just talking about the extra water on the curb. That was the section right on the middle of that, but that water bigger area.
The problem is right next to the homes. Now there's moss growing and there's water puddles and it hasn't been, it was Tuesday, Saturday, but I'm telling you, we had water Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was every day the water was coming.
It's new sod.
We don't have any sod in that big area.
Yeah.
Where,
Grasses in front of 2269 and 2272 or 20, where the new grasses, where the.
the other side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately.
Oh, no,
the
no,
balance-
that's beautiful. No, I'm not,
but
yeah.
That's why.
The water, yeah.
About
That's the valve, yeah.
The board gets work done getting these.
Well, separated, so that's why. So that's, to irrigate, yeah. It's done. It's stopped.
We had water. Today is Thursday. We had watering Tuesday night. Okay, so that, all right, so I'm just, yeah. Okay, yeah, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
what, well, just, that was my biggest
Okay,
thing, so I don't have
Right.
to have a zone walk tomorrow. That was, yeah,
yeah, so that's,
we can
yeah,
sleep in.
so that's, yeah, so that's, is taken care of. There's no more watering. If you see it in a few more days, if it's still wet. Yeah,
Christina?
go ahead.
I heard that the city was out looking at that redwood tree on Commons. And so you should be hearing from the city soon in regards to that big redwood tree about whether they're going to permit it or not permit it. So just giving you the heads up.
That's good. Great. Okay. So I wonder how long it'll take them to make a decision. That'll be interesting. So that's going into the board now, 1425, isn't it? Commons? Yeah,
It is going to the board. I mean, the tree's already been
yeah, but at least,
approved for removal.
Yeah.
It's just the fixing of it
yeah,
afterwards.
remediation. Yeah, so that's one of the
I suspect
proposals.
it'll come out probably in December,
Yeah,
January
yeah,
timeframe. Yeah.
but at least we'll be ready if the board does approve that. Okay, great. That's good to know.
Christina? May I go back to the 8 trees along the
The junipers.
The junipers,
Yes.
yeah, along the
Yeah.
courts. Will we also have a remediation plan for that area in terms of what
Just-
is going to
Well,
replace?
just for that area where the junipers are going to be removed, that's particular spot there.
Yes,
We are just going to put Berry Creek rock, and we're going to cap the irrigation because we can't have any plants growing right by the tennis courts because we want to not have any water getting in onto the courts.
so there'll be no screening at all?
No, not right now. No, there won't be any screening. No, the people will be able to look onto the courts. And
Okay.
so.
I-
Yeah, Nancy does, but Nancy was there from get-go. She lived there 76 and she loved looking onto the tennis courts. And then these junipers were planted, I believe, sometime in the 80s, and they were supposed to be little ones and nobody pruned them. So, and they says, great, they got a little bigger and they got bigger and then they became giants. And, but initially when Nancy was there was nothing around. It was just very beautiful. And she loved looking out into the courts, but we get used to it. So, but right now they're going to be damaged and it's also damaging the fence. So that's another thing. Yeah. It was Nancy Wilton. Is it?
One more question. For those of us who have had lists for plants that have died and plants that need to be replanted, are those part of a separate proposal that has to go in for each plant? Or is that, because I know I got a list of about 20 or 30 in my zone, that plants have died. Some of them may be under warranty. I'm not sure exactly which ones. I think they identified them, but I'm just wondering if that if that gets grouped into one proposal, how do we replant?
No, it's not usually. Yeah.
Like it wasn't a replacement warranty or any warranty replacement, then it should be noted on the zone log.
But if we don't have one now and they're dead plants, you can just send it.
An old zone walk.
Old zone walk, what old zone?
Oh, 9/2. September
No.
2nd, zone walk.
So we haven't gotten a proposal yet for that
Yeah.
zone log, but I do have the notes and I have my photos and I have that.
Yeah.
Gave it to me. So really all that's needed is to go to Oscar and say, would you please prepare a proposal?
Yeah, but
Things have been in flux.
yeah, because I mean, right now we have so many proposals that we are waiting to hear what the board has to say. And so I don't really want to add more proposals as we go along. So let's see what they say and how we want to move forward and what they want us to do, what our directive is from the board.
Just one thing on the plan replacement. So this Friday, whatever new plans we did, we're gonna replace on all grant to replace. My suggestion to you guys about replacements, don't do the proposal right now. Wait until the winter goes by and see what leaves and see what's not gonna leave, and then do the proposal. Otherwise, at the time that we're gonna replace it, you're gonna have all the plants that are gonna be dead, and it just.
But the warranty replacements are tomorrow. Yeah.
And
And then I will send you the schedule.
and these are.
Gonna go and.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for everybody to remember that any new plantings has a 1-year warranty. So, and if you see a problem, immediately report it because have a warranty for 1 year. And that's really, really important to know. So,
And just remember too, some of the plants, like when we were walking zone 7, they envelop a lot of dead inside of them. So it's just a matter of detailing it, and they still alive, but they need just some detail on it.
and some of them were
Need replacement.
some of them were sunburned, and that's fine. That's still alive, and you can still just have to accept that they're like us, they go through different stages. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Are we good? No, it's just from the
Sorry, I'm not
committee
used to.
members. Any other comments?
Hold on.
Don't press the button.
Oh, yeah, don't press the button and just wait a minute,
Okay,
Judy.
so no committee members. Okay. Homeowner comments. Go ahead, Judy.
Yes, sorry. My name is Judy Brewington. I've lived here for about 36 years. And I'm at 509 Elmhurst. So I'm on the street across from the yellow fire hydrant. I have many different sizes of rocks going on, and I can't tell you how wonderful they are. Large rocks over by the mailbox area. For years, my husband and I tried to stop the dirt from going across the asphalt and so on. It was a mess. Finally, got the idea of the rocks, and I have to tell you, it's wonderful. I would encourage you on the rocks to go for them. It does not appear to hurt any of the plants as far as the heat. There's different sizes. What I saw, or I think I heard you saying, some of the smaller ones, I don't think you want to get them real small. And Oscar, just recently, some little kind of like square shaped rocks were being put across the street in some of the dirt areas. And so they put some extra that they had over on our walkway because we go up the stairs. It's an incline and they don't seem to stay real well. I think the rounded ones might be a little, better, but you don't want to get them too small because they don't seem to stay when you blow.
Okay, that's what I said when I said that we're using the 2x4s. That's basically putting an edge on it. And then your smaller rock goes inside of that. So basically it's just a retaining
Okay.
for that smaller rock.
A question I have also in the area where we are, the ivy and different things have been cut away because we are on an incline. And so we have a huge amount of dirt, that goes along. And when the blowing happens, that darn dirt is just, it would be wonderful if the rocks could be added to where it's been cut away. Then you can blow all you want and you're getting the leaves. You're not getting just mostly dirt.
Yes. So on that ivy, leaf season is coming, right? Leaf season is coming, all the droppings. So what we did this last time, we went around all the edges of the ivy and cut them back.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna have time for the next 4 months to touch any of those ivies. So all those ivies you're talking about, that you're gonna start growing and covering that out. So when that happens, my advice now that we have some areas that are being kind of divided to the weekly detail. So we only gonna edge 4 inches out of that.
Oh, right.
So I know you guys gonna probably call saying that it's too big, it's on the sidewalk, but
Well,
that's
right
what's
now
gonna
it's
be.
big. That would be
So-
good.
Is that the norm to cut the ivy on the walkways? And because there has been some complaints because people are saying when the sprinklers come on, the mud comes down. So have you heard that? There's been people on Vanderbilt who were mentioning that.
Could be sections of that. I have to look and see why it's doing it because
Oh,
it's not about the edging, it's about that sprinkler is hitting the dirt.
oh,
It's not
that's.
spraying up. So it
so
needs to be
that's
either
Pam
put it
DiMaggio's
a
house.
bigger
Yeah.
sprinkler or modify the area. So that's
Okay,
what it
so
is.
that's,
Yeah.
so, okay, Betsy we can send that. Yeah, okay.
Oscar, would, in terms of modifying the area, I have no idea what the cost for decomposed granite is. But perhaps a mix of, a light mixing of decomposed granite in those exposed areas might moderate the runoff issue or the dust issue. But I don't know. I've just asked.
Biggest problem that I see in here. Your beautiful turkeys like to play with them. So they
Yeah.
scratch that out and it's just like,
So
you're gonna have all that all over the place.
So so get back to Judy's comments. Yeah, because I just wanted to talk about the ivy because you'd mentioned that, and it just reminded me that there were some homeowners who were complaining about it, but now we understand what the fix is. So go ahead now. Sorry to interrupt.
The 4 inches sounds wonderful because ours is really a lot. The other thing I've noticed, Oscar, is the downspouts. I have 2 of them, one of them in a corner. It's close to the Comcast green box that brings us, electricity or whatever. Anyway, that corner, sometimes when they're cleaning, it's a corner. So they're just blowing, the leaves that have been, and so I noticed it was totally blocked way inside. And so I've come and, but a very difficult spot. It's right in a corner and there's bushes in front of it. But that's the downspout that actually comes from, the roof all the way down. And I think it probably has a lot of spiders because I gave up at a certain point. So I need a hanger or something to kind of get in there a little deeper. So maybe add a rake occasionally to their cleanup.
I will love to do that,
Maybe I-
but unfortunately, that's gonna happen. And unfortunately, we don't really have that timing
Yeah.
to clean every single one of those downspots.
Yeah.
It's just very difficult.
It's just, I wouldn't blow it that direction is what I'm saying,
The- About blowing, it's really difficult on the blowing because at the time that you blow, it just depending on the area where you basically you have like a long stick that is not curved, is not like you can tell them like just blow just from here to there. It just no way. I mean, it just air comes out and you just kind of move things around and
I guess, Judy, you're going to have to
it's
just
just
clean
really
that
difficult.
yourself.
I'll do that. I'll be your
Yes,
helper.
yes. Yes.
You can always
Yeah.
put it in the bottom and
Yeah.
watch and see
I
if it
don't,
comes.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm delighted to hear that you're going toward the rock because
Yeah.
truly I love the rock and I think it does so much for the association. When you drive around, you see the big rock, you see the middle, the little ones, the variety of color is important. And so thank you.
So we can come and take a look at your rocks. Yeah. Who put that in there? GP, okay. Oh, no. Oh, okay. See, I kind of suspected that. Violet. Yes, I had a feeling that was the case. Yes, I will take a look. Okay. Any other comments? Anybody? No. Okay, so I guess we are adjourned. See everybody November 17.
No zone walk, ladies, no zone walk. No. Yes, I'll see you there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pour. I'm gonna check out that water. I will.
Everything you want.
It's just
Just
a-
let me know on Tuesday.
What? It's just for water. Just so much.
Let me know on Tuesday.
Hey, you know
See how
what?
it
My,
goes.
my husband and I walk every night. 9 o'clock from there.
My phone for any of the
We get up.
I always find out the